Krista, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you share your strength with us here. Yay!
Yay! Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
In my house.
Well, I mean, you invited me here, so...
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for being a part of the show today. How about that?
Oh, yes,
and thank
absolutely.
you for inviting me into your home and just like... you know, going immediately to saying, just come and stay with me. I really think you're super awesome.
It's been lovely, and we haven't stopped talking since.
We have not. And we have done a lot of creative processes in the kitchen already, and lots of tea. So let's start simple. What's your favorite song?
In general?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the whole world?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. I don't know if that's even possible.
Okay, well, start with one. Give me a favorite song.
A favorite song?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't work like that.
Okay.
I don't have favorite songs.
How about a song that you really like?
I have artists that I really like.
Okay.
I'll tell you one of my favorite songs. Gregory Alan Isakov's Stable Song.
Okay, I will look it up.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Perfect.
He's one of my favorite artists of all time.
What do you love the most about him?
He is, you know what, it's an energy that he carries, and he carries it with him wherever he goes, whether he's playing solo or he has a whole, production behind him. I've seen him, he plays at the symphony or he'll just play solo, and it's powerful. Just him by himself is so powerful, just to shift the entire room, and there's just something ancient behind what he does. He's so humble. And that's what I love. So his songwriting and his music and his albums are very landscapey, and they kind of transport you, and they kind of remind you of just driving across the country, which is something I've done a few times and like to do.
Yeah.
And so his music has been a theme for that sometimes,
Does he? So he plays an instrument, or does he also sing? I don't know what kind of music it is.
I think you would call him folk. He's
okay.
Kind of Boulder.
Cool. So does he play guitar?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite movie?
Do I have a favorite movie? Not really. I don't think about these things. These are not things I think about.
Okay.
I don't know. But I can tell you a movie that inspired one of my songs.
Okay. Cool.
Did you ever see 42?
No.
That was the story of Jackie Robinson. So that was a few years back.
Maybe I did see it.
Maybe it was.
Maybe I did see it.
Yeah, 13. Yeah, so that song, that movie, I remember going to see that, and then I came home and I wrote Shine.
Really?
Yes. So, which is just about persevering and, look how far we've come, we can't stop now.
I love that song, by the way.
Yeah.
I know you know that I love that song. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was definitely my first choice for the intro to Brilliance through Resilience. I really fell in love with that song. So, but your voice in general. It wouldn't matter if you were singing Mary Had a Little Lamb, really, when you put up the guitar. It's so, it just comes through you, and it's such a natural gift of yours, and it's so effortless. You make it look so easy, but, I already admitted to you earlier this weekend, that I sang in choir, which not even, my voice does not have the same quality by any means, and so I definitely have an appreciation for anyone who is just so naturally gifted and has such a beautiful tone, and you have a pretty special place.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, you know what's really funny about that is I was actually in choir in high school, and I was really shy about my voice. And I remember we had tryouts for some solos sometime, and over lunch, and I was just so shy, and I just had to wait until every single person tried out and left the room, and like the bell rang, and then I was like, can I just like try out? I was just so shy. So everyone had to be gone, and then I tried out. And then I got the solo, this really special one. It was like the solo
What a surprise! What a surprise that you got the solo!
It was in Little Shop of Horrors. You remember that song,
Yeah.
Somewhere That's Green?
Yeah. Well, you
So
know.
that was sort of like my first stage performance. And then everyone just was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, I can sing. I don't know.
I thought everyone could sing like the angels.
I don't know. You know, it's just something I always like. You just don't have, you know, I mean, you don't have the confidence. It's something I've been doing since I've been little.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does anyone else in your family sing?
No.
Oh, you're kidding.
Nobody sings.
Except for your daughter.
My daughter, yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
nobody preceding me sings. My mom loves music, but she doesn't play music. She played flute, and so I played classical flute for 5 years, actually.
Did
That's
you?
something that I did very well. It's been a while, so.
Huh.
I gave up flute so that I could play guitar because I can't sing and play flute at the same time. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see how you would pull that off.
Yeah, I could try. Maybe I'm, you know, boxing myself in.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you're just limiting yourself. I think
Could be. You would tell me that.
You find a way through that, Krista. Name something that you can't live without.
Well, there's a couple things.
Alright.
I can't live without nature. I have to have nature. Nature, I just need to be able to reset, connect. And I can't live without music. Sometimes I've tried, but I cannot. And I've even tried to live without, you know, not playing all the time, but yeah, it's just not living is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I would agree, especially when music is such a big part of your life. If you give that up, yeah, it would create a vacuum. Yeah, I mean, especially in spending time with you in the last couple of days, it's a pretty big part of your night. I mean, your life. I remember last night sitting there, and you know, I think I even told you, like, having somebody to just play while I'm sitting there cutting vegetables is like amazing. Like, yeah. So, it's such a beautiful part
Just
of you.
singing for my supper. I've been doing that for like 20 years now.
I'm appreciative. I've never had anyone sing to me for their supper. It's amazing. I would probably cook every single frickin' night. I would learn how to do a great
This
cook.
is going to work out great. I'll be moving in next weekend.
Excellent. I love it. So, how old were you when you first fell in love?
When I first fell in love, that is an interesting question.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I was trying to make this a little interesting.
That's funny. That's not really something I really ever thought about. You would think, you know, there's like first boyfriends, first crushes, like.
Yeah. So when did that happen for you?
Okay, so if I'm being honest, maybe the first time I was ever surrendered enough to fall in love. I'm trying to be clear, I'm not really sure. And the reason is because it could go in and out, because falling in love is a state of mind that I can reach in a place of surrender. And it also doesn't mean that I'm with the right partner. But but I have been able to reach that several times. So, for example, I was married for 10 years, but maybe it took me, this sounds funny to most people, but we were not in love in the traditional sense for a few reasons. But yeah, it took a lot. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this without going into
the entire
history
story.
behind it.
Yeah.
And suffice it to say that perhaps I was not in control of my life and allowing someone else to be in control of my life, not him. But at the time, and so it just, I would say almost as if it was an arranged marriage or something, you know? And I didn't believe in romantic love.
So when did you believe in romantic love? When did that happen for you?
I mean, I always have that in me. So that's something that I've had since I was a child. I've had dreams, you know, I've had dreams I remember of the love of my life and certain things that happened. But yeah, so I don't know. It took me maybe like 5 years or something with my husband before some things fell apart, and then we were kind of off and on and figuring out and being finally present. Like, not just we're together because we're together or because that's what we were doing yesterday, but do we belong together? Are we in a relationship? Do we want to be together? And really being raw and open and learning to fall in love with each other.
So that took a while, like it was almost like a courting period.
Yes, I mean, you know, we had 2 children, and
there were some other things going on.
You know, we were like, we were young and we were best friends or whatever. Yeah. We were friends. That's really what it came down to. So we were never really in love in that sense. I can get myself to that space, but I did not experience that per se with him.
So have you ever experienced that?
Yes. So I've experienced glimpses with people. The most notable, like the one that I just think about like immediately, was really just a few years ago. So, yeah, and it was sort of a love at first sight kind of thing. And, you know, the little kiss that we both like thought about for days. You know what I mean? And that guy inspired the song Blackest Blue and a few other beautiful ones that haven't been recorded. But
that we're going to hear later?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yes, and then that one's recorded, so maybe you've heard that one. That one's on like Spotify and Pandora.
I have heard it.
Yeah. And my girl is singing in the background of that, but she was 16 at the time. Yeah, that was her first. So, yeah, that one was really, really special. And it'll always stick with me. And there was an age gap, and he was too young. That's what it came down to.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't going to work, but he still was like a soulmate twin flame of mine. And I knew that, and I don't know, there was just so much like passion, and even, you know, we had to complete that, and I had to let go because we were in different places. And I just knew. We knew from the beginning. And in fact, the first song I wrote for him was called Borrowed Time. Actually, I love that one. It hasn't been recorded. But yeah, we kind of knew from the beginning that we were on borrowed time, and that makes it it always makes it super sweet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
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 So,
so tell me something unique or interesting about you that only someone close to you would know.
Well, there's probably a few things, but the most unique and interesting thing about me is that, in my opinion,
that you love to lick your finger after you make candy? Admit it.
That I do. I do love to do that. Yes. Is it interesting? I don't know. Is that I actually was in a cult, like a spiritual cult, from 16 to 19. So I was never raised religious. I was actually very anti-religion, and life has always shown me, the things that I judge or, whatever. It just comes around to show me in some sort of back way that I never expected. Like, how can somebody let someone else think for themselves? Things like that. Oh, this is how it happens. So yeah, it was not religious. It was a spiritual. It was a spiritual thing. It was not something organized. It was a particular teacher. He was an author and lecturer, and this was back in like 96, 97, maybe 97. And he was just a very charismatic, supposedly clairvoyant individual, and this was a different time in the world, and it was very easy to sort of like get caught up in something like that. And I grew up very fast. I was very, sort of just old soul. At the time I was reading Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God, so that I was having a major spiritual awakening. And meeting my teacher at the time, Dom, really kind of just, how do I say, like it just accelerated that in just this really big way. It was very fated. It was always going to happen. And and there was nothing weird or bad about it to begin with. He's just an author. He had, just people who like to go hear him lecture, and and wanted to talk with him one-on-one.
Sure.
Get the lowdown. And in the beginning it was all, just good. It was like all the good things, love and tolerance and compassion and all, stuff. It was based on like esoteric principles, stuff that's been taught for, centuries, like Alice Bailey and H.P. Blavatsky and all the masters. So that was that. But it just spiraled out.
Was it like a commune? Did you all live in the same housing?
No, it was nothing like that at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, that's what I mean. It was not organized.
So tell me more about the cult part of it.
Yeah, and the reason I say cult is because it's just this personality that people essentially just became enamored with, and looking for answers gave their power over to. And so it was our belief that the teacher was sort of the, I'm missing a word, but was like the go-between between your personality and your soul, right? So he was the whatever, and
the communicator, or the deliverer of information, right?
But that's so dangerous. And I will say, in the beginning, I think he felt clear, he felt good, but things quickly, very insidiously, sort of spiraled out of control over the years. So I made a lot of choices based on that. I isolated myself in a big way, I was very disciplined. So if you can imagine, I was like 16 and I was, getting up at 4:30 in the morning every morning and doing hours of meditation and visualization work. I would go to bed with the sunset. I was regularly juice fasting, like once a month for 3 days. I just was, there were a lot of things.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, yeah. I mean, in a way, yes. I needed that structure. That was something I didn't have as a child.
Okay.
I had no, I may have been raised without religion, and, I'm happy for that, but I was not raised with any sense of spirituality, or at its core, love, right? That feeling that you are loved and a part of something bigger, and I think that is the core of it all. So not having had that or any real structure, Yeah, I think it was pretty natural for me to
Search
fall
that
into
out.
that.
Yeah. Well, just search it out for your own, to
Mhm.
answer your own questions, right? Because if that isn't modeled to you or it isn't expressed through a parent, then you are eventually, you would hope, going to go on an adventure yourself, a
Right.
journey of finding out what does that mean to you, or
Mhm.
it's no different than dabbling in Christianity or another
Right.
religion, right? It's
Mhm.
like, does this work for me? Do I totally agree with all of the principles that come along with it? And I did the same thing. I didn't join a cult, but you could say that being born again Christian is a little cultish, and you could say that
I would say that.
my mom,
I would say they all are.
my mom's Christian Scientist upbringing was definitely a little bit cultish, and
Right.
so there's a little bit of that, yeah, for sure.
I just think any time that we're handing over our power to something outside of ourselves, that could be part of the definition of a cult, or any organization that seeks to take away our self-empowerment, our what's the word? It's something about that. But
I thought self-empowerment was good.
yeah. Essentially, so that those are things that I would call a cult. Those are things that seek to keep you from knowing your own power and truth your direct connection to source.
Or at least teaching you how to find that for yourself, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Feeling free to be the leader in that, but also allowing you to find it for yourself.
Yeah.
Or teaching you the principles surrounding it so that you can access
Right.
it, learn to access it, or clear out your energy so that you're able to access it easier, or right? Mm-hmm.
And that was, we used to have a lot of that in the world, and now we're in a different place in the world. Not that that's not still happening in some areas, but I think that people have definitely come away from the idea more and more of guru, of this outside me is the answer. So more and more we're just listening to ourselves, listening to the wisdom of our bodies, listening to how we feel about something instead of just listening to the words. And I think that was one of my biggest lessons in that. And it's one of my biggest life lessons.
Really? Tell me more about that.
Listen beneath the words.
Listen beneath the words.
The words can be lies. There's not, words are words. And and especially in the music industry, so many promises, so many underlying intentions, that if you aren't careful, can really take you down the wrong path. If you don't listen to what you feel about what's being said because you're hoping that it's right, because it would lead to what you want, you're trading your soul, and you are ignoring
your truth.
Yes. And so, yes, that's the challenge.
Okay.
Staying true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you also got married while you were in the cult.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes. I ended up with my husband pretty much because I was in the cult. I don't need to go into why.
Yeah. But that's how you met.
Yeah.
And then you had 2 daughters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that also really resulted, these are all direct results from those experiences. They're decisions that maybe I didn't necessarily make myself, but that were sort of made, if that makes sense. It wasn't like how I felt in my right mind, conscious decisions.
So then, were they suggestions by someone else, or?
No, not necessarily. What I would say is there's a mindset of, well, everything, and plenty of people believe this, everything just happens as it's going to happen. And, well, it's just meant to be. Well, it happened. It's just meant to be. And
so
I
no
don't
free
have a
will.
choice.
Right? So no believe in free will, right? Like, You just have to stay with your situation and circumstances.
And just to bring it back around, this is what I would say, this is the same lesson in the cult. Words that were said and things that were happening underneath. You know? Assumptions that were made. It wasn't made vocally clear to me at any point that you were not to ask questions about some things or other people's experiences with the teacher or with, you know, things like that.
You didn't do fact checking
But
and investigation work before you hopped in? Huh. And how old were you? 16?
I was 16,
Yeah.
wearing my homemade hippie clothes and a little belly chain.
Yeah.
And writing songs. I was already a little songwriter.
Oh, that is so awesome. I would love to see a picture of that.
Oh my gosh, when we're done, I will show you.
Okay.
I will show you. There's some in there. I have a picture on his horse ranch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We need to see that. So you grew up in California without your father present.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Well, my early childhood was, you know.
When did he leave? Was he present until a particular age? Do you remember that?
We were around with him sort of on and off until I was 5.
Okay.
We would leave often and go back to my grandparents. You know, it just wasn't a very safe space. And then when I was 5, that was the last time. And we left, and it was my mom and me and my little baby sister, and we went down to my grandparents in Yorba Linda, down in Southern California, and yeah, that's how I ended up there.
So you grew up in Southern California until what age?
Until I left on my own when I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was in the cult.
When you were in the cult, you left.
And then I flew to the other side of the country.
Is that where the cult was? Where was the cult?
No, everybody was in California, but at this point, it was starting to spiral into some conspiracy stuff. So it was starting to go, this was the time when they were like, the comet is coming and California is going to fall into the ocean.
Oh,
so this is where it went, this is where it started to go downhill.
I see.
And, so basically, you know, he was saying, oh, you gotta get out of California. And I'm like, we have to get out of California. But anyway, I graduated early. I had great grades, graduated early, a semester early. And then I just decided, well, I'm just gonna fly. Well, I wanted to go to Boulder, but I was 17. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna fly to a state you don't know without a job as a minor? That's not a good idea. I don't know where my mom was in this. She was like, okay, whatever. Sorry, Mom. Still, I'm like, what the? My daughter tried that shit. So, it was not going to work. But I had a best girlfriend at the time who lived in Connecticut. Sort of a new best girlfriend. She lived in Connecticut with her mom. So, I decide, okay, well, here's January. I'm going to fly to Connecticut in the middle of winter, and I'm gonna live with her and her mom. And I did that, and got some jobs, and all I did during this time was like meditate and work and like play music and like these are all the things. Left my boyfriend, who later became my husband. Left him in California. I was just prepared to leave everything. I was like, oh, California's gonna fall in the ocean. Well, goodbye. This is the last time I see you all. So, anyway.
and then from there you moved to Colorado, I seem to.
Yeah, 6 months later, we kind of, me and my best friend and him and his best friend, like we all moved into Boulder. Yeah, and
that's how you got back together.
Yeah, we were still together. We were just living on the other side of the country. So I didn't really care.
How did you end up leaving the cult? Like, did it occur to you at some point, like, no?
Yeah, well,
what was that like for you?
Quickly, you know, over the years, it sort of spiraled into government conspiracy. It spiraled into the Y2K thing. little known fact, during these times, I've always been a writer. So I was writing articles that were being published in spiritual magazines across the country and online. Nobody knows these things about me. One fan of mine in St. Louis still knows. And he's been following me ever since.
Wow!
But so this stuff was happening, and I had so many articles, and one of them was called Y2K and Martial Law. So I hope you can never find that.
You know I'm gonna look for it now.
Yeah, just craziness. So this kind of stuff was happening. These people didn't know how old I was. They were just, whatever. I was a writer. So that's the kind of stuff we were playing with at that point, and it just got more and more spiraled into this heavy, weird shit. We're preparing for Y2K, and during this time, so when we first moved to Boulder, not long after that, I got pregnant. So we had Liana, and so we were there for a year. We had her, and we moved back to California. Let's just say all these things came and went. Y2K came and went. Nothing changed. Eventually, I found out from one of my best friends in the cult. So I was, at this point, like 18 or 19 or something. 19, and she was like, maybe 50 or something like that. But she was the one who I was closest to, and the only one I would ever be able to hear this from. We always had people like, turn away, so to speak, or say like, this is not right, like this, but they would be demonized by the teacher. They would be, whatever, they've gone the way of Judas. I mean, it was like intense. Like, we were like dark forces, light forces. Is this is what it was. So, eventually she, called me up and said, I need to talk to you. It's about our teacher. Like, please come, So I went and talked to her and listened to what she had to say, and, just come to like really find out that like there were things happening I had no idea about. There was a lot of lies. There was a lot of manipulation. There was him sleeping with others of the women. I don't know that he wouldn't have done that with me had I not, gotten into this relationship with my boyfriend at the time.
So you essentially woke up one day and you were just done.
Yeah, well, when she told me about this, basically what happened is, and I'm a girl who never gets headaches, I got an immediate migraine. It was like rocking my entire world. Because if you can imagine, at this age, just being so sure, you are so sure of who you are and what you are doing in the world, how you are being of service. That was really our thing, being of service. It's always been my thing. It's a good thing. Find out.
It's a good thing. You do it really well.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome.
But come to find out that everything you built your life on, including the person who's like your husband or whatever, your relationship, and you've had a child at a young age and halted a lot of things that perhaps I would have done in, let's say, my right mind, and isolated myself from a lot of people and maybe made some decisions that made me look a little like questionable as well. So, that was very difficult to take. And knowing how integrated he was into my every thought throughout the day. I'm not kidding you, for years. I mean, I would dream with him. I believed that he taught us in dreams, like everything. My energy was going to him all the time. He was like a giant vampire, and everyone's energy was going to the teacher. So another reason why I didn't believe in romantic love, my energy was going to devotion, to bhakti. So it was, to me, it was transmuted and it was going towards my teacher. I didn't care. That's why I didn't pay any attention to really my relationship. That was not, I didn't care. So anyhow, it comes to pass that all this is really based on some lies and manipulation, and I mean, it got weird. He would move different places, and we went and visited him at one point with our little baby. And he had just like an attic full of guns. And he was like brought one out and showed us. It must have been an AR-15. And he's like, see, blah, 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 or whatever. And then he like accidentally shot the house. And I'm like, I have a little baby. Well, some of the shit that happened, sorry.
It's fine.
It's just really, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But this is what happens once you have like sort of made that decision and you've given your power over to somebody, you can excuse a lot of shit.
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I woke up out of that, and it was terrifying at first.
Yeah.
It was terrifying because I felt him, like, I was just terrified. Like, I'd always felt him all around me, and now I was just terrified. Like, is he watching me? Is he... You know, this still was just like, oh my God, you know. And then I wrote some other online articles about the cult, but under a pseudonym, and didn't use his name either. I didn't really want to bring up any stuff. But it was shocking. It was like waking up from a dream you just swore was real. And that's a theme in my life, actually.
Yeah, it's a theme in mine too. When did you first pick up an instrument?
Well, I started with playing, I tried to play the violin in 4th grade, right? Because that's just what you're allowed to play then.
Yeah. I did too.
That wasn't going.
That was terrible. That was very scratchy.
So 5th grade, then I could play the flute, which my mom had a nice flute. So then I started there, and then 5 years I played classical flute.
Wow. And then you picked up the
gave
guitar?
that up to play guitar.
Huh.
And as soon as I learned a couple chords, I started writing songs. It was just immediate.
Wow.
I was a writer. I mean, I like to write poetry, so it was like the most natural thing for me. It was just like, oh, it's like, I don't know. It's a vibration that allows you to like bring something forward.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it was very natural for me.
Is guitar the most natural instrument for you? Do you like playing it?
Yes. I mean, had I perhaps learned piano, that might have been natural. I've had people tell me that I play guitar like a piano, or
oh, really?
I'll mess around on the piano, and I've written a song on the piano. I've never, I don't remember it. We had a piano when I lived in Nashville. My roommate had a piano, and so I used to play in that.
You'll have to come play the piano at our house.
Oh, I don't play. No. Let's not be unclear.
Okay, bring your guitar.
You can try.
It's just available to you. When did you decide you wanted to be a singer, and why?
Oh, gosh, I've been singing since I was like a few years old. Yeah, there's some random like old, home video of me, like skinny little me, 4 years old, in my little swimsuit, like singing to my peas. I don't know why I ate peas. And
I love peas.
And about rainbows in the sky, and
I used to sing too.
And I used to love, right? We had like Cyndi Lauper and Madonna, dating myself. But I just used to love to sing. So doesn't mean I was like good at it at a young age, but
well, that's debatable. But so when did you you played all of these instruments, and then was it once you learned, you said once you learned the guitar, you wrote your first song, and so combining those two, once you started playing a little bit more often, is that when you were like, oh, I could maybe do this as like my career path? When did that happen for you?
I thought about it pretty early on. So, I started playing at 16, immediately started writing. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so a lot came through at 16.
Yeah, and it started before the cult. So much happens in a short amount of time. But, and that was one of the things that I was going to do in Boulder, interestingly enough, And at that point, by the way, he had also moved to Colorado, so He was in Colorado Springs.
The cult leader?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I intuitively picked Boulder, and I didn't know he was there, which is funny. So,
So
he
kind of was
supposed
following
to,
you.
he was there first.
Oh, he was? So
He
you were
didn't
following
tell
him.
me.
Oh, okay.
I was like, well. But yeah, I went out there to go to music school. I don't really even know what's out. I don't remember what's out there, but that was my intention. And he had promised to help me, you know, like fund my first album. I've gotten a lot of those promises over the years, by the way. Pure manipulation.
You've had a lot of men promise you things over the years.
Yes. Yeah, it means literally nothing to me anymore. That's nice. Until that check is in my hand and you haven't tried to sleep with me, then great.
Right.
So yeah, that was the beginning of that. But instead, other things happened.
Yeah.
I got pregnant.
Yeah. Yes.
So none of that ever happened, and yeah, that was that.
And then you chose to raise a family. And when did
Yeah.
you get back into singing and kind of making that a profession? Was that
You know,
how old were the
Mhm.
girls? And
well, when I moved to Ashland in 2002, the girls were little. Kira was 18 months at the time. Like, and I did this the way I do everything. Except it wasn't just me, it was the whole family. Like, we're gonna move to Ashland from Southern California in 1 month. Pack up everything. Let's go. Unsight, unseen. Never visited. This is just the way I do things. And, yeah, so we did that, and it took a little bit of time, and, you know, I finally, I started to come into myself. We split up for the first time, which was very good for me. I started to play out in Ashland. I started to play with other people. I had my people. It was such a like small community, and it was really sweet. It was like college years. That's what it felt like, you know.
mm-hmm.
And that was how I really started to get confidence around that. And I started writing a lot.
How old were you at this time?
22.
Okay.
Turned 23 there, and yeah, it was like, you know, I grew up so fast. I had some babies so early, so you know, all that. So
yeah.
it finally felt like, okay, it's time for me to just be my age a little bit. You know what I mean? Just kind of consciously step down from this spiritual world of reading all the books all the times and just live and have my experience. And so that is what that was about. Yeah.
As a singer and songwriter, where do you get your best ideas?
Well, it seems that I get a lot of my inspiration from relationships, let's be honest.
Tell me more about that.
Either I'm in love or I'm tortured, you know? Yeah, you know, it's mostly about the complexities of relationships, those dynamics, the trying to work it out, working out your childhood stuff through relationships, you know, it's the push-pull. So I don't tend to write unless there's stuff going on. There needs to be like growth. There needs to be edges. So, you know, you hear people say like, well, I'm not writing because I'm happy. There's some truth to that. But that has happened to me a couple of times. I'm coming out of one of those times. And I'm not really sure when I look back on it if it's the truth or not. You know, there's some part of you that's like, oh, I'm in love and I'm happy and everything's so good. And then there's the other part of you that's like, well, then why am I not writing? Because it's not true. I've definitely been in relationships and been good and been able to write. So, yeah, it's interesting. But there has to be movement. There has to be stuff going on. Like, I'm not I'm not a mundane life girl. You know, things just can't be the same. I don't really want to just like hang out at home and, you know, or go do the day job or, you know, count down to retirement.
So why haven't you been writing lately?
You know what? I think that the muse comes when it comes. But I would say the reason I haven't been writing more recently in the past, you know, few months or during the course of most of this last relationship is that I'm an empath. And my surroundings affect me. My partner greatly affects me.
And what they're
my
processing.
partner,
Yeah.
yes, and so my partner in this past year or so has had a lot going on. And I don't need to get into any of that, but
No.
there's just a lot going on,
Yeah.
and it is really heavy, and it's been a lot of me trying to coach or help or fix, and there's a lot of family dynamic there, and it's just in those places there's no room for me.
I was just going to say, so the priority wasn't you.
Yes, and the other half of that is that I can be a pretty alpha personality. And I don't really necessarily want to be in that role, in that masculine role in my relationship. So very important to me that I'm able to relax and surrender into the feminine and be taken care of and be able to focus on my creativity, like what I'm creating, and have some freedom. Freedom is so important to me. So when I feel like I have to get control for other people or take care of stuff, like I will step into that role. I will always step into the leadership role where I see something needs to be done. But if it's in a partnership, then there's a toll that's taken in other areas of my life. So that's what I see. It's a pattern I've had with other relationships as well.
Yeah, but you're always evolving and leaning as you lean into that lesson. You learn different depths of it in order to clear it out. I feel like, yeah. So you keep building on your experience of that, and that's I think where you currently are. You've gotten to a place where you really kind of see what is next for you, and creating something that is going to be completely supportive of your career for the first time in your life. So I'm really excited for you saying yes to yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you and I have had different lives, don't get me wrong, but when we have put ourselves on hold in any ways, like it's such a wonderful shift to really step out of that and really step into next steps and clarity for what you want your life to be. And I see that for you in this upcoming year, so it's really exciting to see what you're going to create and what's going to come of that. Incorporating all of this experience as well, and really, I think you mentioned a little bit earlier today how you really feel like this next album is going to be super powerful for you, just because of where you are and all of the things that you've experienced. And so I'm really excited to see what that looks like.
Me too.
You're gonna have to keep us posted too on your travels and where you end up moving to, because currently you live in Bend, but I know that it's in the future that you're looking into other possibilities for places to be with more creatives and supportive of your career and work with other musicians too. So yeah. So you face no shortage of challenges in your life. Which hurdles did you personally face, and how have you overcome them?
You know, there are so many different kinds of challenges. Some of them are external and some of them are internal. And then some of them sort of are a little of both. The external ones sometimes turn into the internal ones. So, you know, I feel like I've had challenge. I've had challenges in terms of the way I was raised that have affected me in an internal way. Mm-hmm. And I would say that perhaps those turned into, you know, that my biggest hurdles are my own hurdles, are the internal, you know, the thoughts about like being worthy of something or not. There's a lot. Sorry, there's a lot of thinking.
I mean, that's okay. Let's just stick with that. Like, yeah, being worthy.
Yeah,
that is something that you've been able to overcome. Yeah.
Yes, maybe still overcoming. You know, I know
maybe for the rest of your life overcoming, right? But it is something that you consistently work at.
Yes. Yeah, and there's worthiness, deserving, or can I have this, or maybe even do I want this, you know, so there's some of that too, confusion about do I want this, or is this what other people want for me? And so there's been some of that which has caused me pause in my career now and again, in my music career, because my rule is if I don't feel inspired, I don't do it. If I'm not feeling it, it's not going to happen. And I refuse, unlike some people, which is great, totally fine, discipline. I'm going to pick up my guitar every day and I'm going to play and, you know, try and write, or, you know, Nashville songwriters.
Yeah.
I don't do that. That's not how I work. I listen. And I might not play for a month or a few months, and then I will suddenly pick up the guitar and write an amazing song. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was the time.
Yeah.
So I don't need to sit around and like write and practice from, it's not a mental activity for me. You don't need to do that every day and just be like, oh, let's just make something up. It's cool. I love that people can do that. But for me, it is more of a channeling. It's more of like something needs to come through and let's give it a vehicle. Yeah.
That's how I write. Yeah, we talked about that as well. And I think that's also how you write, right?
Yeah,
you write your lyrics. Do you normally write the lyrics and then the song follows? Or do you write the music and then the lyrics follow? Or is it a combination, or it depends on the song? Or?
Yeah, it can totally depend on the song. I would say most of the time it looks like, you know, there's a feeling. And maybe I will, you know, mess around with a couple chords. They strike just the right chord. And words start to come through. I don't necessarily know what it is. It forms itself. Something starts to come through. And then it's like, they write themselves. And they all look different. Some of them want to be this structure. Some of them want to be this structure. Some of them want zero structure at all. And that is okay. There have been times where I have written poems, like I've written a poem, and then, you know, my guitar player came to me, hey, I've got these chords, like, you know, I think you should do something with them, and it just happened to go perfectly. And one of those songs is 1 Foot In. And that is also not recorded, but it's a great song. But it is on a YouTube video of me in Mississippi Studios, like some years back. Yeah, and it was a great song, but you know, that's how that song was written. And other co-writes that I've done, it's also been a similar thing of like, you know, if I'm stuck somewhere, I used to message my friend who is an MC, a rapper, and I would be like, can you just write me a verse about, having like a hard day, like it's just one of those days. And he's like working at Trader Joe's, and first a lot of them do for whatever reason. And he's just
musicians just like Trader Joe's.
All the rap artists like work at Trader Joe's. Yes, that's it. And then he would just like send me back like a couple of verses, and I'd be like, yes. And then I'd start to put that into something, and and that time was a song called Head Up. There was another one that was like that while I was doing ecstatic dance, that words started flowing through me. Like the poem, like something like came through me. It was really, and I wrote it down, and then at some point not long later, I turned it into a song. That one's called Whisper. That's like a fan favorite, but also not recorded. Most of my songs are not recorded.
Well, you're gonna change that.
Yes, that is the intention.
Yeah.
That's for sure my intention for this year. Find a production team, some collaboration, like make some stuff happen. Because for me, it's all about being able to stay in that creative space. Just keep creating. Right now, what we have to work with is all these songs that
you have
need
a lot
to come to fruition.
Yes.
At least a couple, maybe 2-3 albums worth have to be recorded.
Yeah.
Because I forget them all. Because
Yeah.
I've written so many hundreds of songs, there's just no room. You keep going forward, and then you lose some really beautiful ones.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you take risks?
Risks?
Yeah.
Well, with faith and trust. In the universe, not necessarily in other people.
Okay.
To clarify, actually that's been another, lifelong lesson for me.
Is not trusting other people?
Well,
Or not
learning
putting
to trust
other people.
life. Learning to trust
Trust
life. I don't need to trust people. Like, people are people. I can trust people. I will trust people until they prove untrustworthy. That happens a lot. But people I don't rely on. But just, life or spirit or whatever you want to call it, just the process. That things are unfolding as they should unfold, and that we're covered. That we're okay. That we're taken care of. That what we need will come to us. That is how I can take risks. I take a lot of risks. I mean, I take risks in terms of making like big, quick decisions and moves. I'm always like moving across the country and back. It's sort of just a local joke here. Oh, Krista's moving to Nashville again. See you next week. And then it's like, yep.
Yeah, well, you just like to move. We talked about you being a gypsy, and that definitely runs through your ancestry as well. We talked a little bit about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't you tell me you're from what? Is it a tribe? Oh,
yes. My mother's mother, my grandmother, part of, that ancestry is part of the Ashkenazi 12th tribe, which is the wandering tribe.
That's right. I remember you telling me that. So who do you rely on?
Well, myself. Yeah.
Because are you close? Who are the people that you rely on in your life? Like,
yeah, well, I would say that I'm one of those people that is, I'm a bit of an introverted extrovert. I am much more comfortable caretaking than being taken care of. I really don't have a lot of close friends. That's like people who really know me. That's sort of,
Does that tie in a little bit with the trust? You don't need to trust people?
Yeah, I mean, people kind of just let you down.
Which has been your experience?
Yes, let's just say that's been my experience. Yeah, so I don't really like to put my trust in people. And when I do, it is in relationship, and it may be the wrong relationship. And that's all fine. It's all learning experiences. But, yeah.
So you're just incredibly independent.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Even in your relationships, it feels like. Like, you don't seem like the type of person that can be talked into much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, I have a really good sense of who I am, and...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I guess highly
And
opinionated.
when this is not working for me, I'm gonna let you know, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always right. Number one. No.
Is that a Leo trait?
I think that might be a Leo trait.
Huh, I didn't...
I can't help it that I'm always right.
Oh, you're funny.
No, I mean, I'm also very open. I'm very open to, I'm humble as well. I'm always open to being taught. I'm always introspective. I'm always asking how I can be better or how I can change. I mean, to be honest, that's what has gotten me caught up in, some narcissistic relationships, where I'm like, oh, how can I change? How can I, and that's not the thing.
Adjust to these circumstances? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how can I fix this? How can I make things better,
Yeah, either energetically or smoothing it out, emotionally, or...
Yeah. Yeah, but, other than that, so I'm willing, but that's why I can't, that's why if I get into a relationship, it's going to have to be with someone who's like super knows themselves, super powerful. Alpha enough to meet me, so that I don't end up in that role again.
I think it's time, yeah. So who uplifts you in your life?
Well, you.
Aw, thanks!
I have people that I work with. That's what I would say. People, who I come to, perhaps, who I work with as teachers, or,
Your daughters?
Yes, I love my girls. They are super lovely. I miss them. Yeah, that is one, tough thing about, having a music career and having children. They're pretty grown now.
Yeah.
But, just having to be away, having to go, but we do also have a very unique, special relationship because of that. So, we're very, emotionally close, and,
Well, you are very much in touch, too, it seems like. You talk to them both pretty regularly and frequently.
Yes, I try to. The younger one, she's not much for that, but but she's good.
Yeah.
She's good.
She is always good. What motivates you?
What motivates me is being able to, well, there's a few things, but being able to problem solve, being able, like, if I see something that needs to be changed, or, and something needs to be fixed, fixing it, or, there's a need, filling that space for that. Creativity motivates me. So whether it is, playing guitar and writing songs and performing out, or it's being able to be creative in the kitchen and make my delicious chocolates and try to find ways to make them keto and amazing. You
are a great cook. Yeah,
Aww.
It's really been. I have or you can check out both of our stories. Well, I don't know. I'll probably save a little Krista album or something for you at the top, but like maybe behind the scenes of Brilliance through Resilience. But there's a little video of you from today doing your chocolates in the kitchen. And yeah, so you are definitely creative. And do you have any specific daily practices that support and uplift you and are really empowering for your vision and your goals and, you know, what you're putting forth in the world? Do you have anything that you can share that is really supportive of you that you do on a daily basis?
Yes. Well, I have things that I wish I did on a daily basis.
Well, we all do, right?
That maybe sometimes I used to do, or, you know, I do, well, I love to nap. If I can.
Rest is important.
Yes, I would say, and to be honest, that's really what that is. That's sort of a checking in.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a meditation. It's a, like, coming back. Like, I have, my energy goes up and down. You know, I'm one of those people. Some people can't nap. I'm one of those people that just needs a little, like, reset. If I'm giving too much out or there's too much energy out there, sometimes I just have to go into myself, reset. So that really does work for me. I also really like to, I haven't been doing it enough, but we're going to start doing it more. Just kind of start, you know, visualizing. I like to visualize where I'm going. I like to visualize being there in terms of, like, you know, the future and what I want to create. What does this feel like? I'm here and it's created and I'm doing it. Instead of being in the place of, like, oh, how do I get to that place? How am I going to, you know, like, I try, another lifelong lesson, to keep my mind out of the details and just go to that place of feeling and feel that. And then call it in and allow things to come.
You're a terrific manifester.
It's true.
You are. Well, that's the basis of it, right? It's like, it's being able to feel into what could be.
Yeah.
What if? If you're able to ask what if, in addition to what your current environment is, you're constantly being the powerful creator that you are.
Yeah.
You're so wise. Is there a woman you know who you feel needs to share their story and be heard? Is there anyone that you know?
I mean, I'm sure there are so many. I just feel like every woman has a story.
Yeah, I do too, which is why I started.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like more women should share their stories. Yeah. So that we can all start to relate and have a lot more compassion and love for each other and recognize that, you know, we aren't so different from each other. We aren't as separate as we think that we are.
Yeah, I think that's really important, especially now, just women coming together to support and empower each other, you know, and this cycle, the patriarchal cycle of pitting women against each other in competition, you know, and now it's that strong feminine energy that we need that's going to save the world. And it literally is happening right now. So important to keep in mind when we see all the BS and stuff that looks really scary happening in the world. Really important to focus on, well, look how it's changing. Look what's happening, you know. And it's through the feminine, really, making changes, insisting, you know.
I'm behind you. I'm cheering you on, girl. You do it. You do it through your music for sure. How can people find you or follow you on social media? How can we find you? I'll put it in the show notes too. But
yeah, you can find me on Facebook.
Just under your name.
Yeah, Krista Herring.
Can you spell that out?
KristaHerring. And on Instagram, it's Krista Herring Music.
Okay. And you have a website?
Music. I do, yes, KristaHerring.com.
Okay.
So there's that. You can find me on iTunes and Spotify and Pandora and all those places. Even Bandcamp, if that's your thing. There's just, you know, you can just Google. Okay.
Perfect. Well, I just want to thank you so much for you sharing more about you today and sharing your strength and really sitting here and witnessing you as the powerful woman that you are and having a chance to get to know you and share your story has been really, really a special moment for me. So thank you for that.
Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you for having me and being interested in asking all these questions about weird things you might not want to have the answer to.
No, it was wonderful. It's wonderful, and I think that I already admitted, I love who you are as a person, and it's great that you have a moment to share that, because I know that other people that don't already know you and haven't already found your music will also love you as well. So
Love me.
yeah, that's what it's all about.
Love me.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you. Let me just go ahead and turn this off.
I'll pour the tea.
Yay! It's gonna be so strong.
I know. Strong and potent.